Live, only on DAZN. Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. One is defending a name, the other is building one. The ring doesn't care where you come from, only if you can survive in it. Saturday, June 28th, Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. Mr. George Groves joins me. It's good to see you, George. How's things?
I'm good. I'm really good. Good to see you.
No, good to see you. Like I said, good day to be a Londoner. Weather kind of creeping through the last month. Life pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, the weather's good, so life is good, isn't it? That's pretty much how it goes as an Englishman. No, all good, nice and busy. Enjoying this. Feels like there's not a lot of boxing on right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I try and dip my toe both sides of the pool, don't I? I try and be your side of the camera, talking to people about boxing, and then now working within boxing, training a fighter. So, I get a little bit glum when there's not much on, but the sun's out, so we're smiling.
Yeah, we will talk about your charge, Lucas, who's been making huge waves so far early on in his pro career. But just kind of in general, how much you enjoying that view from the corner as opposed to being the man centre stage? Yeah,
no, I do. I love it. I think it's very rewarding, when stuff starts to pay off. It's challenging, of course. I was that type of guy, that type of fighter who would try and be very aware of what was going on, try and absorb as much of the process, take in every experience. And I was fortunate enough to work with an array of very talented coaches, very experienced coaches at times, travelled the world for various different styles of fighting, different cultures of boxing, and now harnessing that into coaching and guiding someone else is a brand new challenge, but it's fun and rewarding. So it's you always think, well, I know about boxing, so now this is the best way to show that and prove it, is to coach and guide an inexperienced fighter, a good athlete, to becoming a much more rounded and solid pro. So so far so good.
Yeah. This might have been something you've answered elsewhere, so forgive me if you have. Was there ever a time where, let's just say the immediate time where you hung the gloves up, I retired from the sport of boxing, was there ever a time where it was like, I still love boxing, I'll be a boxing fan, I'll watch on Saturday nights, I'll go to shows, but there's a career path outside of boxing that I'm not desperate to pursue, that intrigues me, one that goes, actually, you know what, if it's not boxing for now, that's a path that kind of gets my blood pumping. Was there anything that...
I was never actually good at anything else, really. You love to...
Not one thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be a stand-up comic, but I'm not funny, so there you go. That's the problem.
Depends who you're asking.
I like to be a creative writer, but I'm dyslexic and I hate reading and I can't be bothered. So, that's, ultimately, when you finish boxing, usually you're sick to death. I was tired of boxing. I wanted a break. I wanted something else, a clean break from boxing, do something else. But you realise that your lifetime of knowledge, expertise, it's all around boxing. Your USP will be around boxing, and whatever you do, if you become accustomed to success, which I was fortunate enough to do in boxing, if you want to bring that to someone else, it's going to have an element of boxing to it. So whether that be some sort of coaching, whether in the the sport or the commercial sector, whether that be talking for a living, if you're going to do consultant or punditry, commentary, whether you're just going to do guest speaking, you got to practice that. I remember finishing boxing and working on my speaking, trying to talk better, and I still am now as a commentator. You want to be unique, interesting, informative, but and then stop going and take those little bits out. So tighten it all up. I try and bring energy now for boxing, try and bring excitement to what the people are watching. At times, try and paint a picture that they can understand, but stuff that they haven't necessarily seen. So you're giving it to them from your boxer's brain. As well as, and I've got to be honest, some fights, they're not that exciting. Some fights, the build-ups, ain't so good, and I'm not looking forward to this fight or this show or traveling or doing this or doing that. But that's not my job to moan. I don't want to be one of those guys. I'd much try. And I know sometimes if you moan, you do better. You get more response. You get more people clicking on your channel, and that might serve you well. But ultimately, I want to create something that people can enjoy. So that's what it is. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty good at maths, and I'm pretty athletic. So a combination of that, I don't know what that field would have been if it wasn't boxing in the end.
I was going to say darts, but that's not even athletic. So
darts, there's a lot of mental fortitude, I reckon, needed in darts, and a highly skilled game, and you need endurance, don't you, to play game after game with all the distractions and all the temptations that come with darts players. So I think that wouldn't have been the sport for me.
No. Just final one on kind of the punditry and I guess whatnot. You talk about giving your opinions, and you can be more controversial, and it helps with people going, click, I'm going to watch that. Just an example, when Simon Jordan talks about boxing now, the numbers will be big because there'll be not just controversial takes, but he might directly kind of dig in the path of someone. Did you have to think about, and it's not that you don't, you want to be yourself, but did you have to think about, could I play the controversial figure? Could I play the heel? Could I play the guy that just gives my knowledge and everyone goes, if you're listening to him, that's what you're going to get? Did you think about perhaps different, not characters to play, because like I said, you're George Groves and you know what you're talking about, but did you think about, let me be this guy, let me be that guy?
No.
Because there are personalities in punditry rather than saying what you know.
I think there might be some people out there who are just marvellous at it, and maybe they can conjure up a character, but the vast majority of people are who they are, and then they just lean into themselves. If you're Carl Froch, and he can be polarizing at times, but he knows to lean into that character at times, and Manny, who does his videos, is brilliant at his job. So Manny, he waits for it because Carl will wind himself up, and then that last little bit is, render him unconscious, El Sparko. So how many videos have we seen El Sparko rendered unconscious? Like, if someone says that about you, you're that's gonna get you. But Carl will get there in the end. Like, he doesn't always necessarily start off with that, but he winds himself up to it. And he's got very good in the last 2 years, I think, since he's had his own channel and he's developed his character. He's found out what people were into, like his style, and he's lent into it very well. And he's got a very successful channel. Times, if you're not totally true to yourself, you will run out of steam. But at the same time, you will have to change and adapt. So, all this stuff can be like fashion, what's not necessarily you're going to be cancelled for in the future, but people are always looking, what's the next thing? And then sometimes it might be, it's just going to have to be a more extreme version of what I've done before, or a more controversial thing that I've done before. But, once you break through into a certain category, a certain mold, then you're there and amongst those guys. It's not an easy job. It's it's not an easy job, and sometimes as an ex-fighter, I'll be coming at it different from a purely, say, journalistic background where I've boxed people. Hopefully, I can ask fighters questions that I can relate to, and we can have a conversation about it rather than an interview about it. But some fighters who want to do that job struggle with letting the other guy talk. Sometimes,
any names?
There's plenty out there who are like that. They want to just keep talking. So I cut my teeth with my podcast. Deck, who I do my podcast with, sometimes I've got to shut him up. He won't stop. He out-talks me. So but it's I never changed who I was really to. Ultimately, I've got my fundamentals of boxing. I want to see that. I've got friends within boxing, not a whole heap of friends, to be honest, but I've got friends who I've accumulated over the years, but I've got I box on everyone's channel. I boxed on every promoter's show. Like, Anthony Joshua boxed on my undercard, then I had to box on his, and there was no There's no agenda with what I say. I'll shoot from the hip, tell it as it is. If I think someone should retire, I don't need to be crass or crude or rude about it and say, oh, he's got to retire. But if I think, am I excited about Conor Benn, Chris Eubank, the rematch? When it comes round, I probably will be a little bit excited, because you always do with the big fights. But right now, I'm like, I've seen that movie. They didn't leave room for a sequel. Like, the rematch for me, this is not the reason to have a rematch. You have a rematch when there's controversy, or there's there's something bigger at play, rather than just the first fight was a fight for fight's sake. This one, the first one went well enough. Let's do it again. I like boxing to still be a sport where there's a journey to the top. But that's me.
Yeah. Right, well, we'll come back to a certain Chris Eubank Jr. and definitely to Mr. Cole Froch. Lucas making huge waves in the sport, like I said, early on in his pro career. And I know a kid that you believe is, can I say go all the way? I don't want to put words in your mouth. But let me just say a kid that you believe is going to do big things.
Yeah, no, I think he can go all the way. I wouldn't be investing this much time in him if I didn't think so. He's someone who has the attributes to do it. I'm there now to give him the guidance to do it. Now, he's the type of fighter who is like, suits me. That's the way I want to fight. He'll be an aggressive counterpuncher. He's big, he's fast, he hits hard, and he's going to be entertaining to watch. You know, he's ticking a few boxes as we're going along. Like, every now and again, we'll go for a spar and he'll get caught with one, and that's the chin tested. It's not a tin, it's a chin. It's chin's working. You're like, okay, that's good. Sometimes he might have a difficult round, or he's just not quite making sense of what the round is. I give him an instruction, he goes out and does it straight away in the next round. It's like, okay, he can follow instructions. He's coachable. So, you know, I haven't got a huge, experience in terms of coaching, but for large parts of my career, I was certainly self-managed, but navigated my own path to the top, with the expertise that they were of Haymaker Boxing when I first turned pro. Adam Booth and David Hay had carved their route to the top. I learned so much from both those guys, just not necessarily them sitting down and telling me how to do stuff, but just watching how that works, how you build boxing, how you make fights, how the business part of boxing works, who to keep happy, who not. So much logistics that goes into it. I learned with those guys, and then after separating from them, I was already at world level and had to sink or swim at times. Got beat, had to rebound, had to come back, had to bite down the gum shield and get going. And learn an awful lot in the process: the good, the bad, the ugly. The ups and downs, and the nothings. Sometimes when there's just the nothing, that's the worst. So got there in the end, but things could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot different. What about if I'd hit Froch with the punch that he hit me with? Just that would just change one thing about that fight. Then the change, like that's the cool thing about boxing. It's the exciting thing about boxing. It's the thing about boxing is that could have been one punch. It could be, I was doing well that round. If I'd caught Froch and laid him out the way that
the boxing world just in general be different.
Yeah, it would have been like I would have been champion of the world, just biggest name in British boxing by a country mile. This is pre-Joshua. Would it have even delayed Joshua's arrival? Because it was like Froch finished, Froch lingered before retiring, and in that meantime, that lingering allowed Eddie Hearn to build Joshua on further. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Fury wins the belts, has a meltdown, the belts scatter, and he fights Charles Martin. It's a meteoric rise to the top for Joshua. It's the best bit of managing that I'd ever seen. Not just from Matchroom, from Joshua himself, who got definitely got the right people around him at the time to build him. He did loads of commercial deals. He made himself a proper, he separated. He's not a boxing blue collar, like he's top tier, right? And Sky at the time were the boxing face. Everything went through them, and they built him incredibly well. So all this time, you as a fighter, if you want to have longevity in boxing, you got to have your eye on it. You got to see it, and you also got to. I feel like I'm at the stage of my life to know that I don't know as much as people who have been in this longer. There's a period in boxing where you've been in there a few years and you think you know everything, and actually, it turns out you don't. Like, you don't. There's things you haven't seen yet. There's things you haven't experienced yet or processed yet. So the guys who've been in the boxing game longer, Calla Sowland, for example, Frank Warren, like, even the emotion of the highs and lows. Eddie Hearn, he's been in boxing less than I have. Like, his rise came when I was fighting for a world title. I didn't see Eddie when, he popped up with Audley Harrison doing prize fighter, as David Hayes winning the world title in Germany. So Eddie Hearn, he's had the highs of Froch and Joshua, and then he's probably had the lows of Joshua losing. And where's he at now? Is he in a stage now where he's like, do I enjoy boxing anymore? Is it fun? Is it not? Am I just sort of plateauing? He can't think now that he's seen everything in boxing, because what comes after that plateau? Is it the high? Doing the DAZN deal, it's magnificent. Like, he completed boxing on Sky and then he moved to DAZN, whole new challenge. But what's next? Is DAZN going to take over now? Is DAZN now, is Sky pulling out of boxing, and DAZN are just going to fill that void, and you now watch your boxing on the Sky platform because DAZN have got an app on the home screen? Who knows what's next?
It's such an exciting time for boxing, and that is why it's such an exciting time to have such a good young fighter as well. Really looking forward. Just before we do move on, have you got a date that you can give us, or is it mouth shut?
He'll be back in September,
okay.
Lucas. September. We've had. He was going to box this weekend, depending on when this goes out. He was going to box at the end of June. But he's had 5 fights now in 6 months. We got back from Newcastle, and his hand was a tiny bit swollen. And it was 3 weeks almost to the day between that show and the next show, and it was going to be right. We're back in the gym punching hard on Monday, and he really needed a week or two rest. So we had to sadly pull out of the TM14 show that was going to happen at York Hall at the end of the month. He had a really good opponent. We're really excited. Hopefully we can make this fight again later on in the line. But as a newbie pro, you don't have camps. I just find it bizarre where recently you hear these fighters talking about camps. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're going to go on a 6-month strength phase, right? And you might box 4 or 5 times in that strength phase. So yeah, maybe you shouldn't be doing a heavy lift 10 days out, a week out from your 6-rounder at your call. But actually, you're building for the future. I think, we get him out in September, keep him busy. He'll probably move up to 8 rounds in September. We want him in against winning records, guys who are coming to win. Who you gotta solve the riddle, get past the problems, and if you're not on it, you're gonna pay the price. It's gonna bash you up. So cruiserweights are really exciting at the moment. Lucas has definitely got to develop, not just as a cruiserweight, into the division. As an amateur, he moved up from 86 kilo now up to 90.2, whatever it is. So he's still got some growing to do. And but there's some really talented guys who are literally just turning over, same stage as he is. So in a year or two's time, a British title is going to be a hard-fought thing to own, I think. We're in for a treat as boxing fans following this young crop of fighters in the cruiserweight division.
Yeah. Music to our ears.
Mm-hmm.
Music to our ears. Right, I'd have to come back to him, like I said. Mr. Cole Froch, is he being unfair on AJ with he should retire, he's, quote, finished, and he's petrified to get hit?
Is that what he said, Cole? I subscribe to Froch on Fighting, but I don't think I've seen that video yet.
Do you enjoy watching his videos?
Cole's Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work together. We haven't done that much lately, but we've done a lot. So, he's a funny guy, very dry sense of humour. So I enjoy his work. I'd rank him up there in terms of the other guys within our sort of peerage.
He's
industry.
incredibly watchable. Let's put it that way. He's very watchable, which is why he's a massive talking point. He's been a big talking point in interviews I've been doing, be it with journalists, trainers and fighters. He's been a big talking point for the last 2 weeks because of his comments. So he's watchable.
Yeah, and that's his job right now, is to sort of say stuff that he believes the general public think the same want to say, and good for him for doing it, I suppose, if it's working for him. Joshua, I think Joshua's going to fight Fury. I'm certain that's going to happen. That'll happen at the end of the year. Whether that's September, October, I don't know. They'll do a 2-fight deal, just like Eubank, Ben. It's a fight for fight's sake. We'll be interested. It'll be good. It'll do good numbers, and but it's not for the sport, is it? It's for entertainment. So there's fights for the sport, fights to be the best, and fights for entertainment. That's just a fight for entertainment. I think it'll be a great thing to have because it'll settle the score, who was the better heavyweight during this era, even if it is right at the end of both their careers. But it's then who lasted the longest, For example, me and James DeGale didn't have that last fight at the end. If we had, whoever would have won could have said, I lasted longer. So it'd be great that if Joshua and Fury do have a fight, I think they will. And for entertainment, I think it's a great fight. I'm up for it. I'd like to see it.
Yeah. Do you think Cole's comments come from the split with Rob McCracken and AJ, that something doesn't sit right there? Do you think there's, and I hate to use this word, this is not my train of thought, this is something I've heard a couple of people say, is there some form of jealousy around parts of Anthony Joshua's career?
Yeah.
Not that Cole didn't achieve, but it's just, what's
if you want me to say it, I'll say it for you, no worries. Cole Froch is jealous of Anthony Joshua. He's jealous of his success. He's jealous of his fame. He's jealous of his money. Froch made a load of money, and he's now a cult icon within boxing. He got given a Hall of Fame ring because he had a load of big fights. But yeah, it's nothing. Let's be honest, nothing compared to Joshua. And if you want to pick it apart in terms of boxing, like Froch probably doesn't go, he beat this guy, beat that guy, and then he left McCracken, whereas Froch stayed with McCracken his entire career. So he's got McCracken's back. That's nice. That's nice. Like, I had a multitude of trainers. I had three league coaches as a pro. They were all good, Depending, go through the time periods. Maybe I won't say that about any of them at some points, within my life, because sometimes that's just how it goes. But he stuck loyal to McCracken. But trainers are trainers, aren't they? Fighters are fighters, trainers are trainers. Like, there's no wonder trainer, there's no wonder fighter. Usually a very good fighter still needs a decent coach to achieve. And sometimes when the perfect setup link, when a trainer whose philosophies match a fighter's abilities, you see something magical. Do you know what I mean? So, Floyd Mayweather with his uncles or his dad, can be unstoppable. But you pull Floyd Senior out and put him with Hatton, like, they're two different types of fighters. Like, you can't expect the same success. So, but Froch is 100% jealous of Joshua. He is. He's and I don't know why, mate. You've done so well, spitting feathers. Like, there's so many things in your career that no one, that you wouldn't trade for anyone else.
The Wembley trendsetter.
Wembley. We went to Wembley.
The modern Wembley.
Went to Wembley. Like, you robbed me in the first fight. It robbed me blind in the first fight. It created such controversy that we went to Wembley Stadium. You did not do a single thing to promote that fight. Rightly so for you. You got your head down, you knuckled down, and at 36 years of age, when your elbows were packing up, when this was packing up, and you had no right of winning, you pull out the best punch of your career and knock me spark out. Like, so, and then retire. Like, no one has ever retired on a punch as good as that.
Punch. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No.
But has he retired though?
Froch. I don't think he wants to fight
Can
again.
I give you 2 names and you say which one you think he has a better chance of beating? Jake Paul, Darren Till.
I haven't seen Darren Till fight, to be honest.
Do you think there's a chance he beats Jake Paul now?
I think there's a chance he could get a Darren Till fight, but I don't think he'll get a Jake Paul fight. I don't think Jake Paul's fighting Chavez, yeah? I don't understand the logic behind Chavez. Like, maybe in America he's a huge name and this is a proper influencer fight, but it seems like he's picked a boxer who's just was good 15 years ago. And he's still trying to prove to everyone that he is a boxing force, Jake Paul, but obviously he's not. He's useless. Like, he's bang average. He trains like a full-time pro. He's still bang average, of course. But if Froch boxed him, he'd probably beat Froch. Froch is old. Like, Froch is old. He hasn't boxed in 12 years. I watched him do the bag the other day, and if he falls to the comments, oh my God. Like, it's like, where's the head movement, Carl? I know you never really had it, but now that the arms are a bit slower and, you know, it's like, I would have been embarrassed to put that bag work out. But he did, Carl, and I think he's the ultimate, like, David Brent, you know, that he's the ultimate Alan Partridge. Like, he puts it out, and it's so subtle that it goes over everyone, even my head. Even though I know him so well, we spend so much time together, I go, Cole, I want to lean and go, Cole, why you put out that footage of you in the bag like that? You look like someone's pulled your Zimmer frame away, and you're gone, you're so tight, mate. You're so slow. And then, but the comments are like, wow, what would he do, Jake Paul? I think Jake Paul. And then someone done a comparison video of Jake Paul. Sure, it wasn't Floyd Mayweather, you know, but he's moving.
Did Jake Paul look quicker?
Jake Paul was much quicker. He was moving. He had a bit of head. He went dung, 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 dung. I mean, don't get me wrong. That was like level 2 white collar. You know, that white collar guy who's been doing it for a good few years. He's been punched in the face. He's had 3 bouts at the
local
the
nightclub.
tavern. Yeah, you know,
sells 2 dinner tables.
Oh, at least, yeah. He's probably got a bit of a following now. So, yeah. So, but no, it's all good.
Final ones. I'm getting the thumbs up to finish this. I said I'll come back to Eubank. Not even Eubank, Ben. Just the sauna situation. He's been asked to come in front of the board because of his use of a sauna. Now, I was around a few fighters that week who said, fine, Chris put it on his Instagram and showed us, but this isn't out the norm. Is it, are they trying to make an example of him? Is it, I don't know, just your thoughts on putting him in front of the board?
Right. He's everyone uses saunas. Everyone uses saunas. Everyone sweats out to make weight. Like, it's how you do it, yeah? You don't just wake up on your weight. You don't just go about whole camp on your weight. Like, you've all got to get down to your weight. And the best way to do that is to get warm. So whether that be put a sweatsuit on and skip, or exercise, or get in a sauna. The British Boxing Board of Control refuse to let you do it. Now, it's lazy on their behalf for doing that. It's what would be, well, I can't think of what the equivalent would be, but you've got to make a weight. We want you to make a weight. We want the fight to happen, so you got to sweat out. Like, if he'd done a training session in a t-shirt, he still would lose weight, but it would take longer. So why do that? You just layer up, sweat it out, and get it done. But what you don't do is you don't put it online for everyone to see, because you know that the board doesn't want you to do that. And the board, they can't say this to you, but they're like, do what you want as long as we don't see it.
Keep it a secret, yeah.
See it. So, like, the board of control will be like, right, we're going to do our 30-day weight check. You've got to be 10% above your contracted weight. Okay. And then they'll say, what time do you want me to come? It's not like VADA, where they're trying to catch you out. Like, they'll show up at 6 a.m. They'll say, what time do you want me to come? And then you tell them a time that you know is sensible for you, so that you've made the weight that they're coming to see. And you're not going to come out of the sauna dripping with sweat, taking off. But you can finish your session. Like, you can say, come at the end of my training session. And they know you're going to be... If you're a pro, you know, a 12-round pro fighter, and you're doing a full-on session, say you've sparred, you could lose 7 pounds in a sparring session, because you're not guzzling water, you're sipping in between rounds. That's what it is. So I think I hope Eubank don't mind, does he? He loves paying a fine. Anything goes with him. Pay another fine.
Made a fucking fortune.
Board. But he's single-handedly keeping the board afloat with fines. Hopefully, you know, I don't know what other rule he could flounder on his way there. But yeah, it'll just another solid fine. Don't put it on Instagram. Don't be that vain. No one cares. You haven't enlightened anyone. We all know you got sweat. So just keep it to yourself, Chris.
Live, only on DAZN, June 28th. Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.